Well, hello, welcome. It's the final day of the extended Eid celebrations right here in Lagos, Nigeria. We know the stock market is still closed. The banks are still closed, and I'm hearing that some POS operators are running out of cash at this time. But not to worry, tomorrow the banks will be open and we'll have the market right open again. And I'll be wondering how the market, how investors are going to start this holiday shortened week. But let's get to the top stories that set your agenda. We see oil prices ticked up in early trade today, extending gains from previous session on a stronger demand outlook and investor confidence that OPEC Plus producers could pause or reverse plans to raise supplies from the fourth quarter of this year. $84.46 a barrel, that's what we have for Brent crude, 0.25% up. WTI crude, that's also back above that $80 psychological level. At this time, holding on by 49 cents, 0.2%. That's the uptick we have. So definitely watching out for how the benchmarks close for today. But both benchmarks gained around 2% on Monday, closing at their highest. That's since April. Two other stories now. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, Nigeria Customs Service, and the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission have experienced a 131% increase in their cost of revenue collection for the first quarter of 2024. This analysis is based on the Federation Account Allocation Committee disbursement report published by the National Bureau of Statistics. It shows that these agencies collectively received 214 billion naira in the first quarter of 2024, up from 92.85 billion naira in the same period last year. The FIRS and NUPRC deduct about 4% of the cost of revenue collection, while the NCS received about 7%. The cost of collection is usually deducted at the monthly FAC meeting before the federally collected revenues are shared with the three tiers of government and other statutory recipients. So definitely we know when the cost of collection goes up, that's not a good one, at this point. But to our first conversation now, we'll be looking at the real estate sector in Nigeria. The first quarter GDP we see released by the MBS shows a decline in the real estate and construction sector's growth. That's for the first quarter of 2024. From the report, the real estate sector stood at 0.84%. That's for the first quarter of 2024, 0.84%, compared to the first quarter of 2023, which was 0.86%. So we're seeing a drop there of about 0.50%. That's for the contribution to Nigeria's GDP in the first quarter. So what's causing this trend? It's lower also, that's 5.31%. That's what it contributed to the GDP in the corresponding quarter of 2023. Let's drill down now on the hurdles in property registration in Lagos State. We're going to be drilling down on Lagos State. Now, joining us for this conversation is Tope Salami. He's a partner, IRT and Associates. Joining me right here in studio. Great to have you. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Williams. Good morning, Nigerians, and happy Eid celebrations.
Yeah, happy Eid celebration. I hope you got some ram, though, because I didn't get any ram.
Well, yesterday I was all about Lagos, going around, seeing friends.
Oh, you're one of those guys that just went around, trying to get some ram.
That's how it is. That's one of the things you get to enjoy.
Fantastic. Well, I hope I get some, at some point, but it's over by tomorrow. But looking at this real estate contribution, that's to the first quarter GDP. We're seeing quite a 0.50% is not slight at this point. That's 0.5% drop compared to the first quarter of 2023. And I know I've heard, most investors talk about how the hurdles in real estate sector, number one, property registration.
Yes.
That's become a snag. But, so far we've seen the Lagos State government talk about promoting ease of doing business in the real estate sector.
Yes.
Are we seeing any improvement at this time?
Yes, well, the Lagos State government recently just came up with, I would say, an ease of doing registration of titles in Lagos State.
Right. And,
so far, it's been a fantastic idea. It's been a good initiative by the Lagos State government. But there's been some hurdles, so the whole idea is to reduce, the interface with public servants because of the bureaucracy in civil service. So the whole idea is to ensure that from the comfort of your homes, you could register your interest in title to land. So you could do your governor's consent, as it's called. You could process your CFOs. You could conduct searches. You could apply for certified true copies of title documents. But you know, these things have had a bit of drawback because of the system. There are a lot of problems, and that is why you've seen the decline between the first quarter of 2023 and now. And the reason is not far-fetched. The reason is because of the bureaucracy in obtaining these permits. And I would like to take it into 2 slides now. You look at the registration of titles part, and you look at the process of obtaining permits for building approvals. You know, it's an Herculean task in Lagos State now. Over the past 3 to 4 years, post-COVID, we've had, since this system was introduced, they tried to eradicate the manual system of filing applications for land transactions. And since they've gone into this electronic system now, because of some, well, I would say, problems, not particularly because of the difficulties in accessing civil servants to do their jobs, but you find glitches such as poor internet service. Sometimes you go to the land registry to conduct business, you know, they say there's no electricity, you know, you can't even conduct searches in real time. So, well, they have tried to sell it to the public that, come from the comfort of your homes, you could register title documents. But
is that happening at all?
Well, it's happening. Some people have been able to access that portal, you know, but if you're trying to process an application from the comfort of your office and the back end where the services should come from, there's power outage or the system failure or you have poor internet services, you know, you could hardly get anything done. In fact, I could remember, I think twice last week I visited the Lagos State Land Registry and I could barely get anything done. You know, I was going there to conduct a search for a client.
So let's assume I'm a property developer and at this time I found this land and I want to, you know, develop it. Walk me through the process, you know, in getting most of these permits.
Okay, yeah, the first aspect, the first thing you have to do is you have to register your interest in the land.
Right.
You know, when you buy a property, the first thing to do is, you know, secure it, and when you secure legally, you could buy a property, physically you have an equitable title. But until you register your interest in the property with the land registry, that is when you get an equitable, legal interest in the property. And you know, the conditions precedent for getting a building approval is having a title document over the property. So you see, when you're having problems, even registering your interest in the property, when that takes years, because what the Lagos State government has sold to the public and which they've tried to do is to make sure you can get this thing done in as low as three months. In fact, what they're selling is even 30 days content. But in reality, it takes practitioners and applicants, they know, as a matter of fact, that this thing takes a long period of time. So after you register your title document, which takes time, which is, you know, almost difficult and impossible these days, you then proceed with those documents to the Fiscal Planning Permit Authority, which is responsible for, you know, managing your design and ensuring that what is in your design actually fits with what you're putting on ground. But, you know, there are a lot of bodies, there are a lot of agencies.
I'm talking about the number of agencies. You know, I read, you know, yesterday on Business Day that we have about 17.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are more.
More than 17 agencies before you can, that you have to pay to or to get permits from. You know, at this time, I think we have a list of that. We see Lagos State Physical Planning Permit Authority. There's Lagos State Safety Commission, Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, Lagos State Materials Testing Laboratory, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, Lagos State Fire Service. Some say for a building that's not yet, you know.
Yes.
The Standards Organization, I guess that's federal.
Yes.
You know, so Lagos State Management Authority, LAWMA. So I'm wondering what LAWMA has to do with it.
I don't know. You know, you've not even gone. I will tell you for free that in some parts of Lagos State, you even see local government coming in. You know, for stocking materials on the road, sometimes you see local government officials come in and say, well, you don't have the right to do this. If you want to build a property, your materials must be in the confines of your building. And, you know, there are too many agencies, in my own view, doing the same thing.
Right.
You see, there are too many agencies doing the same thing. If it would have been easier if we had about 2-3 agencies, we know that's what it's applicable all over the world. You know, for example, I don't see why LAPSCA and the Lagos State Fiscal Planning Permit Authority shouldn't be merged into one. You know, they seem to be doing the same thing. Then you see the Lagos State Material Testing Laboratory. You know, they are also there. And they have, what they do is, you know, they get a mixture of your concrete, you know, they just want to test the viability if it's solid enough. But that still should be the confines, should be within what the Lagos State Fiscal Planning.
So we don't need over 17 agencies to handle all of this.
That's not even. You see, you also see the problem of high taxation. You see, sometimes before you get your approvals ready, you still have to go to the LIRS. LIRS gives you humongous bills, that you have to pay. Well, if we're in a system where those bills can be calculated based on what you earn, it would have been easier. But for example, I'm doing a construction in somewhere in, let's say Mushin, for example, and I'm giving a personal income tax of over 2 million naira to pay, which even is more than what the fiscal has. So a lot of these issues, has caused a significant decline in, real estate development in Lagos.
And we talk about, doing due diligence, before, buying a property. Yeah. And when I look at these hurdles, that you have to, scale through before you can get these titles, does it discourage investors from actually doing due diligence? Because we've had the issues of properties in Lagos State,
yes,
being demolished, being built in the wrong places over canals and all of that. So how much of this is discouraging due diligence?
Well, I will take it from two angles now. So the fact that you must, as a matter of, it's mandatory that you consult a professional before acquiring real estate.
Right.
You have the surveyors, the land surveyors, and the lawyers. They will, go to the land registry, confirm your interest in the land. But the truth be told, for all these demolitions you see in Lagos State recently, I feel the developers had, they've been pre-warned that these lands are, subject to government acquisition, maybe the fall on road alignments, so it's not just like the Lagos State government woke up one day and started demolishing. If they had done their due diligence, they would have known that, this area is earmarked for sewage, this area is earmarked for, canals and all. So they shouldn't build on that. But be that as it may, there is also the problem, like I said earlier, with the system itself. Like I told you, I said I walked into the land registry twice last week. I couldn't conduct a search. So for a client who is in a hurry to close a transaction, it might, And
there was no public holiday?
No, there was no public holiday. It's just a system. Like I told you earlier, there are systemic failures. Sometimes you go to the registry, they have no electricity, or they tell you the portal is down. So this has, reduced people's appetite to conduct professionals because they feel, well, it takes a lot of time and I just have to go ahead and do my business. So that's what we've been witnessing, and that's why there's a decline in this approval.
So for you, what do you think should be done at this point? Because 17 agencies, that's quite a lot.
That's a lot.
What do you think should be the first step now to make property regularization easier?
Yeah.
So that we actually get that ease of doing business in the real estate sector?
Well, just like I remember in 2016, the former president, President Muhammadu Buhari, created an agency. I think it's a presidential initiative on ease of doing business.
Right.
I think this should be captured by all the states of the federation. These agencies. For example, you want to do a construction, and all these agencies are listed to you, and at some point in time you have to pay some certain fees. It discourages you, and that's why you see a lot of developers, trying to boycott the system and doing developments that eventually, don't stand the test of time or eventually come down. So I feel the government should be proactive in the sense that, you see, all these agencies, you can put some of them together. You could merge like the LAFSCA, the Lagos State Fiscal Planning Authority, the Lagos State Material Testing Laboratory. These agencies, in my own view, they actually do the same thing. They actually do the same thing. You can bring them together, then, strengthen them to bring out their core mandates. So going forward, I would be of the strong opinion that the Lagos State government, brings these agencies together to give citizens better service delivery.
Right.
I will tell you something for free. Where the part of Lagos where I live, somewhere in Ojodu. Ojodu is a suburb. It's a community that has a boundary with Ogun State government. So you're doing a construction in Lagos State, in the Lagos side of the state, region, right, and the other side, Ogun State, and you're constructing, for example, a one-story building, and taxes you've paid to Lagos State government before you even start construction is well over 5 million. And the other side, the Ogun State, you see somebody, developing for months and no single government agency, shows up. So the Lagos State government, Lagos is the center of excellence, is the financial capital of Nigeria. But they need to, harmonize these agencies and make it less stressful, to get permits, to get approvals,
So comparing Lagos to other states, is it easier in other states to regularize?
Well, because Lagos has now gone digital. You know, other states, I don't think there's any state or even the federal government agency in charge of that's the Federal Ministry of Housing. I don't think there's any state government that does what Lagos State is trying to do. But what Lagos State government is trying to do is to make it digital, you know, make it ease-free. You know, so from the comfort of your homes, you can apply for permits, you can apply for CFOs, you can apply for governor's consent. But, you know, like I said, it's come with different issues entirely. You know, it's a brilliant initiative by the state governor, you know, to make things easier for the population.
I'm sure technology is playing a huge role.
Yeah. In fact, recently, I think about 3-4 months ago, when this Lagos State online application, it's called the Momentum system. When it was launched by the governor, there was a stakeholders meeting where the governor called experts from the industry and practitioners alike, you know, when they launched the system. And, you know, they made the governor know that, we're having problems, you know, because if you're trying to achieve a system where you have each free processes, there shouldn't be internet glitches. There should be regular power supply. So it's like a lot of things must be in place before. So, and now what we've discovered is they're not even getting it faster. The whole process is not achieving its desired purpose because it was faster when they were doing the online application. So imagine walking into a ministry now and they tell you there's no power. You know, if you were handling physical files, it would be easy to push physical files. But when there's no power, you can't access anything. And this sometimes goes on for weeks. So, you know,
right. So a lot of other infrastructure have to be put in place.
Yes.
Seamless. Anyway, we'll keep tracking progress when it comes to regularization because definitely we know that impacts, you know, the real estate sector heavily. Thank you so much, Barrister Tope Salami, the partner at IRT and Associates.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
All right, so we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll head to another conversation, definitely, talking about financial inclusion and how that can move the economy forward at this time. That's our next conversation. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Well, in our next conversation, we'll be looking at economic transformation through financial inclusion in Nigeria. To delve into the topic, we'll explore how providing access to financial services can create vast opportunities for low-income individuals and drive significant economic growth. Joining us for this conversation is Mr. Isaiah Wolabi. He's a co-founder at Hasty.org, joining me from our Abuja studio. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Ladi.
Good morning. So what progress will you say have been made in Nigeria regarding access to financial services, especially for low-income populations? And what would you say are most of the significant barriers at this time?
Well, thank you very much. If you look at the National Financial Inclusion data, you realize that Nigeria is making progress, even though we are not where we want to be. For example, at the last count, the financial inclusion rate in Nigeria was at about 70%. That's about 64, 65%. But for this year, we had 74%. That's for both formally and informally financially included. Now, that's very important to note because when you think about financial inclusion in itself, you have to consider the formal and informal. As much as informal is important, there are more chances of people living to their full potential when they are formally financially included. So even though the informal numbers are great, it's important that we transition them to the formal financial services. And if you look at this data also, you see that even though Nigeria is at 74%, it doesn't do justice to low-income areas, especially rural communities and peri-urban areas across Nigeria that still significantly has very low financial inclusion rate.
Right.
We also continue to see trends that are peculiar over the years, which is the fact that LPA, Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja continue to have very good financial inclusion rate. But when you look at other states, especially states in the northeast and northwest, you see that the financial inclusion rate might be low. And and that might also call for policy program level intervention.
Okay, let me just jump in.
Some of the,
yeah, okay. let me just jump in real quick, because right now there's an issue right now. We're seeing that, I'm hearing that POS operators have run out of cash at this time. And definitely we know the banks, are closed for the Eid celebrations. So talk to me about this. Should this be happening in a country like Nigeria at this time?
Genuinely, if we think about what the point of sale service, which popularly is called POS, is contributing to financial inclusion, we should realize that though we are not where we want to be, there's been a lot of progress over the years, but they shouldn't be out of cash, because the fact that POS services, so POS operators are able to serve people, especially low-income individuals, women especially, and if you think about the other value chain, farmers also, you realize that there's a big opportunity when POS are in business. So if they're out of cash, it's important, and it also calls for more thinking around the two sides of financial inclusion, which is the demand and supply side. POS represent the supply side. What are we doing infrastructure, regulatory-wise, to make sure that they are able to serve their customers really well? So definitely, if the question directly is to say, should this be happening? Definitely not. But how can we address some of these issues? We need to innovate more around what POS is even doing for the low-income people, women, farmers, very poor people within the country. We know what the data states about multidimensional poverty. Over 100 million Nigerians have multidimensional poverty. Many of these people are also those who depend on this type of services. So it's important that we find better ways to improve the supply side, so that we can deliver sustainable financial services for the poor.
Right, so that even on public holidays, everyone can have, access to cash, so that they can actually enjoy, the holidays. But thank you so much. It was great having your perspective today, Mr. Isaiah Wolabi. He's a co-founder at Hasty.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so the markets open tomorrow. The banks are back open also tomorrow. So not to worry if you don't have any cash at this point. But that's it from me on Business Morning. I'm Ladi Williams. It's back to the Sunrise Daily team.